All right, buckle up, everybody, because today we are taking a deep dive into something pretty massive. We're cracking open the Laniakea business plan, and this isn't just some app pitch. These guys are aiming for a whole digital ecosystem. Their slogan, Digital Life Simplified, but with like a super interesting blockchain twist.
Yeah, it's really ambitious. It's like they're
Yeah.
trying to build well, it's almost like a one-stop shop
Mm.
for like everything you do online.
Everything from social media to like ride sharing, even managing your finances. They want to roll it all into one platform.
Exactly.
And they're throwing around some pretty big terms in this plan: blockchain, artificial general intelligence, even tokenizing
I know
likes.
when I first saw that, I was like, what? Tokenized likes. What does that even mean?
Right. It's like, remember all those times you're scrolling through your feed, liking posts, and thinking, man, I wish I got something for this? Well, Lanya K is proposing to do exactly that.
Yeah, make those likes actually worth something. Turn them into like digital assets or something.
Exactly. It's like
Yeah.
instead of just giving away your attention for free on social media, you could potentially earn something tangible from your interactions.
That's a huge shift. Like a totally different way of thinking about social media.
Absolutely. And they're not talking about some, shady point system either. It's all built on blockchain technology.
You decentralized ledger.
Right. So it's not just Lenny Akea saying your likes are worth something. The
Mhm.
value is like baked into the system itself.
And that transparency could be a game changer, honestly. Think about all the fake engagement and bots on social media right now with a blockchain system.
Mhm.
Every view, every interaction is tracked and verifiable.
Yeah, no more fake influencers.
Exactly. It could really shake things up.
For everyone, influencers, businesses, regular users, it almost makes you wonder, like, could this change how we use social media? Would we be less focused on just chasing clout if we knew our engagement actually had like real world value?
That's a really interesting question. I mean, it could definitely change the incentives.
Right. But hold on, before we get too deep into the what ifs, let's take a step back. What problem is Leniakea actually trying to solve here? Is it just about making our likes worth money?
Well, they lay out a pretty compelling argument in the plan. Basically, they're saying that the current online landscape is, well, it's pretty unfair, especially for content creators and small businesses.
Right, they're kind of getting squeezed.
Exactly. They're competing for scraps while these big tech companies are like feasting on all the ad revenue.
Yeah, it's a tough environment out there, especially for the little guys.
Exactly. And that's where Lani IKEA comes in. They want to level the playing field by giving individuals more control over their data
Yeah.
and a bigger share of the pie.
They actually use a really great analogy in the plan. They compare small and medium businesses to goldfish competing with leviathans in the digital ad market.
Wow.
Right? So it's not just about making a few bucks from your likes, it's about a fundamental shift in how value is created and distributed online.
I see.
Yeah.
They're aiming for a more equitable system.
Exactly. And they're not stopping at just social media. This is where things get really wild.
Oh yeah, they're not messing around.
Lenny Ikea is envisioning a whole suite of apps,
Hmm.
all interconnected, all working together within this ecosystem.
Like a whole digital universe.
Seriously, they've got shooting stars for ride sharing, Epoch Education for online learning, Eclipse events for events, obviously, and they even have apps in the works for lodging and professional services.
It's kind of mind-boggling when you think about it.
It is. It's like, how would you even navigate something that massive?
Well, that's where their Hubble app comes in. It's designed to be the central hub, like the control panel for your entire Laniakea experience.
So it's like a universal wallet.
Yeah, exactly, where you manage your finances, your data, access all the different services.
Okay, that makes sense. But with all those financial transactions happening, what about security?
Oh yeah, they're super serious about that.
They're going all in on know your customer verification, right?
Absolutely super strict about confirming everyone's identity.
So no funny business.
No way. They even mention working with established financial institutions to make sure everything is by the book.
Okay, so they're really trying to build trust, which is smart, especially in the crypto world.
Definitely. They're not taking any chances.
So let's recap for a second. We've got the blockchain, the interconnected apps, the emphasis on security, but there's one more piece of this puzzle that's just wild.
AGI. Right.
AGI, artificial general intelligence.
It's like AI on steroids.
Seriously.
Oh, yeah.
So what is it exactly, and how does Lani Akia plan to use it in this crazy ecosystem?
Well, most AI we see today is good at, like, very specific tasks, like recommending products or filtering spam, right?
Right.
AGI is like the next level. It's
Yeah.
about creating AI They can learn and adapt like a human.
Hold on, learn and adapt like a human.
Yeah,
That sounds like something out of a sci-fi movie.
it kind of is. But the potential is incredible. Imagine a ride-sharing app that doesn't just find you a driver, but also analyzes traffic patterns in real time,
Hmm.
learns your preferences, and suggests the absolute best route for your journey.
So it's like predicting the future of traffic?
Kinda, yeah.
That's wild.
Or think about an education app. That adapts to your learning style,
Mm.
adjusts the difficulty level as you go, and even suggests topics you might find interesting based on your past activity.
Like a personalized tutor in your pocket.
Exactly.
Hmm.
The possibilities are pretty mind-blowing.
They really are. But the big question is, can they actually pull it off? Is this whole Laniakea thing just a pipe dream? Or is there something real here?
I don't know. It's a big question.
It is. And to even begin to answer it, we need to dig into the team behind this vision. Who are these people? Do they have the experience to actually make Laniakea a reality?
Well, the mastermind behind it all is Eric Rosado. He's the founder and CIO,
Okay.
and he's got over a decade of experience in software development with a focus on social media and financial tech.
All right, so he's not just some random guy with a crazy idea.
No, not at all. He's got a proven track record.
And what about the rest of the team?
Well, the plan mentions that he's been building strategic alliances with some major players in the tech world.
Oh.
They're not naming names yet, but it sounds like some serious partnerships are in the works.
That's huge. You need the right people, the right resources, the right connections to pull off something this ambitious.
Absolutely.
Okay, so they've got the vision, the team, the partnerships, but let's be honest, none of that matters if they can't make this thing financially viable.
Right. Got to pay the bills.
So what's their plan for actually making money from this ecosystem?
Well, they've got a pretty multi-pronged approach. They're looking at subscriptions for premium features, transaction fees for things like ride sharing and payments, and of course revenue from those tokenized interactions we talked about earlier.
So they're not putting all their eggs in one basket.
Nope, they're creating multiple revenue streams.
Smart move. But have they actually crunched the numbers? Do they have any projections for how much money this thing could make?
They do. They've actually outlined several different growth scenarios in the plan.
Oh, interesting.
They have their best case scenario, their realistic scenario, and even a worst case scenario.
So they're not just assuming everything's going to be sunshine and rainbows.
No, they're being pretty pragmatic about it.
Okay, that's good to hear. So they've got the vision, the team, the partnerships, the financial plan, but how do they actually plan to build this thing? It's not like they can just snap their fingers and make Laniakea appear overnight, right?
Right. And the plan acknowledges that this is a long game. They're talking about a phased rollout, starting with a few core applications, and then gradually adding more features and services as they gain traction.
Okay, so they're not trying to boil the ocean all at once.
Nope, they're taking a more measured approach.
That's a relief because I was starting to feel overwhelmed just thinking about all the moving parts.
I know, right?
But with so many different technologies and applications to integrate, where do they even begin? What are they prioritizing in this first phase?
Well, it looks like their initial focus is on those core functions we talked about earlier. The social media platform with the tokenized likes, the Hubble app as the financial hub, and their ride-sharing service, Shooting Stars.
So the essentials, the foundation of the ecosystem.
Exactly.
But how do they decide which features to add next?
The plan is actually pretty flexible on that. They emphasize adapting to user feedback and market trends as they go.
So it's not set in stone?
Nope. They're open to changing their roadmap based on what they learn along the way.
That's smart. The tech world moves so fast, you have to be able to adapt.
Definitely.
But what about this whole AGI thing? They're talking about integrating it into the platform. But isn't that technology still, years away?
It is. And the plan acknowledges that AGI is still in its early stages.
Okay.
They're taking a phased approach here, too, starting with pilot testing
Mm-hmm.
and then gradually expanding the role of AGI as the technology matures.
So they're not betting the farm on AGI just yet, which is probably wise. But it still makes you wonder, what if AGI doesn't develop as quickly as they hope? Can Laniakea still succeed without it?
That's a big question. But even without full-blown AGI, there's still a lot of potential in their other innovations, like the tokenized interactions, the interconnected services, and their focus on security and compliance.
Okay, so they've got multiple layers to their strategy. They're not just betting on one big technological breakthrough.
Right, they're creating a system that's adaptable and resilient.
Which is crucial in such a rapidly changing industry.
Absolutely.
So that brings us back to the fundamental question. Is Laniakea the future of digital interaction, or is it just too ambitious to succeed?
It's hard to say for
It
sure.
is. We've covered a lot of ground here, the technology, the team, the financial plan, the potential impact. But what about the actual user experience?
Right, that's a crucial piece of the puzzle.
And to be honest, the plan is a bit light on specifics when it comes to that.
Yeah, they don't go into a lot of detail about the user interface or how people will actually interact with this ecosystem.
So it's all well and good to have all this amazing tech working behind the scenes. But if the platform is clunky or confusing, people aren't going to use it.
Exactly, it has to be user-friendly.
Yeah, they need to strike that balance between power and usability.
It's like building a spaceship with all the latest gadgets.
Yeah,
But if the seats are uncomfortable, nobody's going to want to take the ride.
I love that analogy. So how do we know if Laniakea is going to be a comfortable ride?
Well, one thing that does stand out in the plan is their emphasis on user feedback. They talk about conducting pilot tests, gathering data, and iterating based on what they learn.
Okay, so they're not just building this in a vacuum.
No, they're planning to involve users in the development process.
That's good. That gives me some hope.
Me too.
But with so many different applications and features, how do they even decide what to focus on first?
That's where a clear roadmap and strategic decision-making come into play. They mention a phased approach, starting with core functionalities, and then gradually adding more complex features over time.
So not trying to do everything at once? Makes sense. But how do they choose what those core functionalities should be?
It seems like they're prioritizing applications that address the most pressing problems
Mm-hmm.
and offer the greatest potential for user adoption and, monetization.
Right. Got to keep the lights on.
Exactly.
So practicality and potential.
Yeah.
They're choosing the apps that'll be most useful to users right away, while also laying the groundwork for their long-term vision.
Makes sense.
It does. But let's go back to this idea of monetization for a minute. They're talking about tokenizing likes and views. But how does that actually translate into real-world value for users?
That's where things get a little fuzzy. The plan mentions a system where users earn tokens based on their interactions and contributions, but it doesn't go into specifics about how those tokens can be redeemed or exchanged for other goods or services.
Well, it's like earning points in a loyalty program, but we don't know what those points can actually buy.
Yeah, it's a bit of a mystery at this point.
And that lack of clarity could be a problem.
Definitely. People need to see a tangible benefit to participate. Right now, the tokenization system is a little abstract.
They need to show users how those tokens can be used in a practical and meaningful way.
Agreed.
Otherwise, it's just a bunch of, digital dust.
Yeah, exactly.
But even if the tokenization system doesn't take off, they still have other revenue streams, right?
I do. The subscription model, the transaction fees,
Hmm?
and the potential for advertising revenue.
So they're not putting all their eggs in the tokenization basket.
Nope.
Good. But you know what else I'm curious about?
What's that?
This whole supercluster software thing?
Oh, yeah.
They mention it a few times in the plan.
But they never really explain it.
Exactly. What do you think they mean by that?
Well, the term supercluster usually refers to like a massive grouping of galaxies.
Right.
So it seems like they're using it as a metaphor
Mm-hmm.
for the scale and complexity of their platform.
Okay.
Maybe it refers to the way all the different applications and technologies are interconnected and working together as a whole.
So it's not just a bunch of separate apps. It's a supercluster of interconnected functionalities, all powered by AI and blockchain.
Exactly.
It's a pretty grand vision.
It is.
But can they actually create something that lives up to that metaphor?
That's the million-dollar question.
It really is. Well, I don't know about you, but I'm definitely intrigued. Laniakea is certainly swinging for the fences with this plan. They're not just trying to build another app. They're trying to build a whole new digital world.
It's a bold vision.
It is.
And it raises a ton of questions. How will they actually implement all these features? Will users embrace this new way of interacting online? What are the potential risks and rewards?
All great questions, and questions that we'll need to grapple with as we continue our deep dive into the Laniakea business plan.
Definitely.
So stay tuned, folks. We're just getting started.
Okay, so, we really only scratched the surface of this AGI thing, and it's kind of the heart of what they're trying to do with Laniakea.
Yeah, for sure. It's a pretty radical concept when you think about it.
It is. They're not just talking about, like, basic AI here. This is artificial general intelligence. We're talking about AI that can learn and adapt like a human being.
Yeah, and that could have a massive impact on, well, everything, from how we use the platform to how it's even designed.
Absolutely.
So how does Laniakea actually plan to use AGI? What are they envisioning?
Well, They get into some specifics in the plan. For example, imagine searching for something online, but instead of just getting a list of links, you get a curated selection of results that are tailored to your interests, your past behavior, even your current mood.
That's like a whole different level of personalization.
Right.
It's like the search engine actually understands you.
Yeah, it's not just about finding information. It's about understanding context and intent.
Okay, so search is one thing. What else are they planning to use AGI for?
Well, they also talk about using AGI to enhance the ride-sharing experience.
Okay, how so?
Imagine an app that doesn't just find you a driver, but also suggests the most scenic route, picks the perfect playlist for your journey, and even adjusts the temperature and lighting in the car based on your preferences.
Okay, now that's just cool. It's a chauffeur and a personal assistant all rolled into one. Sign me up.
And get this, they even talk about using AGI to help users manage their finances more effectively.
Okay, now you're really speaking my language.
Imagine an app that analyzes your spending habits, identifies areas where you could save money, suggests investment opportunities based on your risk tolerance.
It's like having a personal financial advisor in your pocket.
Exactly.
That's pretty incredible. But let's not forget about the potential downsides of AGI. I mean, we've all seen those sci-fi movies where the machines take over.
Right.
It's a valid concern.
Definitely. And to their credit, the Laniakea plan actually addresses those concerns.
Oh, how so?
Well, they emphasize the importance of building ethical safeguards into the AGI from the very beginning. They're talking about transparency, accountability, making sure the AGI is aligned with human values.
So they're not just trying to create a super intelligent AI, they're trying to create a responsible AI.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes me feel a little better.
Yeah, it's good to know they're thinking about these things.
It is. But let's shift gears for a second. Let's talk about money.
All right, let's get down to business.
We talked about their financial plan earlier, but how confident are they that this whole ecosystem can actually generate revenue?
Well, they've done their homework. They've analyzed market trends, projected user growth, crunched the nuts.
What's the verdict?
They're actually pretty optimistic, even under the most conservative scenario. They project that Laniakea could become profitable within a few years.
That's impressive, especially considering how massive this project is.
And they're not just focused on short-term profits. They're building for the long haul. They see Laniakea as a platform that could generate billions of dollars in revenue over the next decade.
Millions.
Billions.
Okay, now you're really talking. But where is all that money going to come from?
Well, we talked about their diversified revenue model. Subscription fees for premium features, transaction fees for things like ride sharing and payments, and of course revenue generated from those tokenized interactions.
Right, the tokenized likes and views. But they're still being kind of vague about how that's actually going to work, right?
Yeah. They mentioned creating a marketplace where users can buy and sell tokens, but the details are still a little fuzzy.
So we still don't know what those tokens are actually worth.
Not exactly.
They're going to need to flesh that out a lot more.
Agreed.
But even if the tokenization system doesn't take off as they hope, they still have other revenue streams to fall back on.
Right, exactly.
Okay, so let's talk about competition for a minute. Laniakea isn't exactly entering a vacuum here. They're going up against some of the biggest tech giants in the world.
True.
How do they plan to compete with the likes of Google, Facebook, Amazon?
That's a great question. And it's something they address directly in the plan. They believe their key differentiator is their focus on decentralization and user empowerment.
So they're basically saying, we're not like those other guys.
Right.
We're putting the power back in the hands of the people.
Exactly. They argue that the current digital landscape is dominated by a handful of centralized platforms that control our data, dictate the rules, and reap most of the rewards.
Yeah, it's like a digital oligarchy.
Kinda, yeah.
And Laniakea wants to disrupt that system
They want to create a more equitable and transparent alternative.
by giving users more control, more privacy.
More opportunities to monetize their activity.
It's a bold strategy.
It is.
But it's not without its risks. I mean,
Yeah.
those tech giants have a lot of resources.
They do.
And they're not exactly known for playing nice.
Yep.
So Laniakea is going to have to be smart about this.
Yeah, they're going to have to be nimble, innovative, maybe even a little bit lucky.
It's a classic David versus Goliath story.
It is.
And I don't know about you, but I'm always rooting for the underdog.
Me too. Especially when they're trying to do something as ambitious and potentially world-changing as this.
Agreed. So we've talked about their vision, their technology, their financial plan, their competitive strategy. But what about the people who will actually be using this platform, the users? What does Laniakea have to offer them?
Well, at its core, Laniga is about creating a more rewarding and empowering online experience.
Okay, I like that.
They're promising users more control over their data, more opportunities to earn money, and more personalized and engaging experiences.
Sounds good. But how will they actually deliver on those promises?
That's the key question, right?
It is. What are the specific features and functionalities that will make Laniakea stand out from the crowd?
Well, I think a good place to start is with their social media platform.
Ah, yes. The infamous tokenized likes. Tell me more about how that's actually going to work.
So the basic idea is to use blockchain technology to create a system where every view, every interaction has a verifiable value.
We talked about that earlier, but I'm still not clear on how users actually earn those
Okay,
tokens.
so they've got a few different mechanisms in mind. For starters, users will earn tokens simply by engaging with content.
So every time I like post, share a video, comment on a thread, I get rewarded with tokens.
Exactly.
Okay, so it's like getting paid for your attention.
Kinda, yeah.
Interesting.
And they're also planning to incentivize high-quality content creation.
Okay, so it's not just about quantity, it's about quality too.
Exactly.
I like that.
And they're also talking about creating a system where users can tip each other with tokens.
So if I really enjoy someone's content, I can send them some tokens as a way of showing my appreciation,
Exactly.
like a virtual tip jar.
Yeah, kind of like that.
Okay, that's starting to make more sense. But what can you actually do with these tokens?
That's the million-dollar question. And as we mentioned earlier, the plan is still a little vague on the specifics,
Right.
but they do mention creating a marketplace where users can buy and sell tokens.
Okay.
And they also talk about integrating the tokens into other applications within the ecosystem.
So, for example, I could use my tokens to pay for a ride on Shooting Stars,
Exactly.
or maybe to buy a course on Epoch Education.
Right.
They're trying to create a self-contained economy within the Laniakea ecosystem.
Yeah,
That's a pretty ambitious concept,
it is.
but it's also pretty intriguing.
It is.
And it's just one piece of the puzzle. They've got a whole suite of other applications that are designed to enhance the user experience and provide value in different ways.
Exactly.
So tell me more about these other apps.
Okay. Well, one that stands out is their education platform, Epoch Education. They're envisioning a personalized learning experience where users can access a wide range of courses, tutorials, resources, all tailored to their individual needs and goals.
It's like having a customized curriculum at your fingertips.
Right.
That's amazing.
And they're also planning to use AI to track your progress, identify areas where you need more support, even connect you with tutors and mentors.
It's like they're trying to create the ultimate learning experience.
They are?
And they're not stopping there.
Nope.
They've also got plans for an events platform, Eclipse Events,
Right.
that will allow users to discover and attend events in their local area.
Or even around the world.
So I could find everything from concerts and festivals to conferences and workshops all in one place.
Exactly.
And they're planning to use AI to personalize my event recommendation.
That's the idea.
Okay, I'm sold.
And they've also got plans for apps for lodging and professional services, all integrated into the Lanikia ecosystem.
So I could book a hotel room, find a plumber, hire a freelance designer, all within the same platform.
That's the vision.
Wow. It really does feel like they're building a whole new world here.
It does, doesn't it?
And the big question is, will people actually want to live in that world?
That's the billion-dollar question.
It is. But the more I learn about Laniakea, the more intrigued I become.
Me too. They're definitely onto something here.
We are.
But the real test will be in the execution.
Right. They can have the best vision in the world. But if they can't build a platform that's user-friendly, secure, and delivers on its promises...
It's all for nothing.
Exactly.
That's where things get really interesting.
It is. It is.
So are you ready to dive even deeper into this rabbit hole?
I am. Lead the way. All right, so we've really gotten into the nitty-gritty of how Laniakea is supposed to work, the tech, the team, the financials.
Yeah, we've covered a lot of ground.
But I think it's time to, zoom out a little, look at the bigger picture. What kind of impact could a platform like this have on the world, on society as a whole?
That's a big question. And honestly, it's what makes this whole thing so fascinating. I mean,
Right.
we're not just talking about a new app here.
Right.
This is like a potential paradigm shift.
In how we interact online.
Exactly.
How we create and share value.
Even how we organize ourselves as a society.
It's like they're trying to build a whole new digital civilization.
With its own economy, its own rules.
Its own values.
It's a pretty bold vision.
It is.
And like any powerful tool, it could be used for good or for evil.
Right. It all depends on who's wielding it. and what their intentions are.
Exactly.
So let's focus on the potential upsides for a minute. How could Laniakea make the world a better place?
Well, one thing that really jumps out at me is their focus on economic empowerment. They talk a lot about creating a more equitable and inclusive digital economy
Where individuals have more control over their data.
and a greater share of the profits.
So, like leveling the playing field between the little guy and the big tech companies.
Exactly.
I like that.
And they're not just talking about it, they're building mechanisms into the platform to make it happen. The tokenized interactions, the decentralized governance structure, the emphasis on transparency and accountability.
All designed to empower users.
There's a bigger voice.
The Mickeys.
They're creating a digital democracy.
I like that analogy. Where everyone has a vote and everyone has a chance to succeed.
Right.
But it's not just about individual empowerment, is it?
Yeah.
It's about community empowerment, too.
Exactly. Laniakea envisions a world where like-minded people can connect and collaborate more easily,
Share resources.
build something bigger than themselves.
So it's not just about making money, it's about making a better world together.
That's the idea.
But they're not naive about the challenges, right?
No, not at all.
I mean, there are definitely some potential downsides to this kind of platform.
For sure.
So what could go wrong?
Well, one concern is that a platform like Laniakea could actually exacerbate existing inequalities. If you don't have access to technology or you're not digitally literate, you could be left behind.
Yeah, it's like the digital divide, but on steroids.
Right.
And what about the potential for misuse? I mean, a
Mhm.
platform this powerful could be used for some pretty shady stuff.
Absolutely. That's a real risk.
Spreading misinformation, manipulating people.
Even facilitating criminal activity.
It's like giving everyone a loaded weapon. Some people will use it responsibly, but others won't.
That's a good analogy.
So how do they mitigate those risks?
Well, they emphasize the importance of ethical considerations, responsible governance, robust security measures.
So they're not just building a technological marvel, they're trying to build a responsible and sustainable ecosystem.
Exactly.
And that's what makes this project so interesting. It's not just about the technology, it's about the human element. It's about how we choose to use this power.
And what kind of future we want to create.
It's a lot of responsibility for one company to shoulder.
It is. And they acknowledge that they don't have all the answers. They see Laniakea as an evolving experiment.
A work in progress.
Exactly. A journey of discovery that will require collaboration, adaptation, and constant learning.
So they're not just trying to impose their vision on the world.
Nope.
They're inviting us to join them in shaping this new digital frontier.
That's right.
It's actually a pretty inspiring message.
It is.
So where do we go from here? We've explored the Laniakea business plan. We've analyzed its potential impact. We've weighed the pros and cons. What's the takeaway for our listeners?
I think the takeaway is this. Laniakea is a bold, ambitious project that could have a profound impact on our lives, whether it succeeds or fails. It's a sign that the digital landscape is shifting. The old rules are being challenged, and new possibilities are emerging.
It's like we're on the cusp of a digital revolution.
And Laniakea is one of the leading forces.
And it's up to us to decide what role we want to play in this revolution.
Do we want to be passive observers, or do we want to actively shape this new world?
That's a great question, and it's a question we all need to ask ourselves.
As we continue to explore the frontiers of technology.
Well, on that note, I think it's time to wrap up our deep dive into the Laniakea business plan. It's been a fascinating journey,
It has.
and I really appreciate you joining me for this conversation.
It's been a pleasure.
But before we sign off, I want to leave our listeners with one final thought.
Okay.
Laniakea is just one example of the incredible innovation that's happening right now. There are countless other companies and individuals out there pushing the boundaries, challenging the status quo.
Building a better future.
Exactly. So to everyone listening, stay curious, stay informed.
Stay engaged.
The future is in our hands.
And that's the most exciting part.
Thanks for tuning in to this deep dive into Laniakea. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep asking questions.